let's take a look at your build. You've got DCP mod. Thank you for the follow, by the way, Amstel80. So you've got your DCP mod, which gives you 23 seconds of invulnerability, as opposed to, what would that be, 20 seconds? 16 and a half.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's a pretty good boost. You've got engine boost modification, you've got aiming system, steering gears, concealment, and main battery mod, and then of course your consumables are what you have. Do you have a special captain, or is it just a regular captain here?
I believe it's just a regular captain. There's not really anything to gain picking Cunningham.
Nope.
Or the Dunkirk. Well, the Dunkirks have better turret traverse, actually. But not that that's going to matter all too much, because generally speaking, when you're in the Vincent, you're typically either going towards or away from someone. There are those moments where you wish you could have turned your guns a little bit faster, sure, and that is actually me not being thorough enough, not picking the Dunkirk for it. But generally speaking, I didn't feel missing that turret traverse at any given point.
I mean, we're talking about a 5% buff to traverse speed. That's probably not going to matter. It could, but probably not. So, yeah. Your build, you've got Emergency Repair Specialist into Grease the Gears, into Adrenaline Rush, into Concealment Expert, into Gun Feeder, into Emergency Repair, Brisk, and then finally, the meme that is Furious. Why did you take Furious?
It's a funny thing you should mention it, because it ends up being a mistake in this very game, unfortunately. But generally speaking, you take Furious because you can recover a massive amount of fire damage. In fact, you can heal all the damage you take from fires. So you can have someone sitting and fire spamming at you, and you can heal the fires, and you can DCP them for an extended period of time while the heal is on cooldown, and you can survive for a surprisingly long time. And when someone is firing, for the most part, especially at a battleship, they are usually going to be spotted unless they're doing it from a smoke screen, but then they usually don't have the range because they're often a light cruiser to have the smoke firing penalty necessary.
Okay.
So you can get away with having Furious surprisingly well, and the main thing you want to use the Vincent for is, I'm going to give this one to Colo because he named it first. What is it we call it, Colo?
What?
The Vincent.
The battle ram?
The battle ram. So oftentimes you use the short-term tankiness of the Vincent to initiate a push, to get people into the oh damn mode, where they start panicking, turning broadside. You know, they have to get away. A lot of people will end up in that situation when you push a Vincent in their face.
Yeah.
And then you have other ships pushing in slightly different directions as you're pushing and going along, so that you can catch out the different kind of maneuvers they could try to do to evade it. You will take a lot of damage, but fire damage is damage over time. It's not instant. So the big issue with that is actually the AP, and in that case, it doesn't really matter to have Furious. But some ships, once again, they don't have good AP, so they'll be spamming HE. Put you on fire, allow you to get a shot off a little bit earlier. Which has also saved myself and others in other situations.
Sure. So this is a good skill for ships that have that super heal, because you can kind of control when it's active and when it's not, right? Based off your DCP, and then of course you've got the heal. So if you don't think it's a big deal, hashtag this is fine, you can just let the fire burn, and be happy because you get 5% reload on your main battery.
Per fire.
I'm sorry, say that again? Per fire.
Per fire,
no.
indeed.
So you haven't taken fire prevention. This is the big brain here, guys. Because fire prevention reduces your maximum fires of 3. But with Furious, you could possibly be on 4 fires to get a 20% buff to your reload.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different, because if you have 2 fires, it is like 9.9, and the dispersion is a little bit above 10.
So it's multiplicative instead of additive.
I don't know how they apply it precisely, but I've seen it when you have double fire. It's not a flat 10 buff on
Yeah.
your reload.
So it's 0.95 times, and then you do that twice instead of minus 10%.
Indeed. And another thing that people kind of forget is that Fury is also buffs the dispersion. If there's one thing I find slightly annoying with the Vincent, it's the dispersion. So the moment you're on fire,
Mhm.
you're already getting a 5% dispersion buff. Wasn't it 10 that you got from? Oh, what is that skill that must not be named anymore?
Deadeye?
Dazzle?
Deadeye.
Deadeye.
Deadeye. Because we're talking about you get 2 fires on the center of your ship because like you get a heavy salvo of HE. That's typically where the fires start because you always aim for center ship with HE until you've set a fire there. And that's the most guaranteed way of landing the multiple shells that's necessary to start it. So without fire prevention, 2 fires can land on the superstructure, and they quite frequently do when you don't have fire prevention. That means that you can then control your dispersion. You can give yourself Deadeye by allowing you to be put on fire, and then you can snipe people with that added dispersion.
So, but
But
the
you
way
don't get a better dispersion. It's the enemy that get worse dispersion.
correct, it's harder for you to be
yes.
hit. It's not Deadeye. It's the opposite of that. It's it's fuzzy eye for the enemy,
Yeah.
right?
Sorry.
No, but that's
I
fine.
was just looking at it there for a second. Dispersion of shells fired. I just didn't realize that part myself, which is why I pointed it out.
Okay. Hey, that cool.
But the real noticeable part is just the quicker reload, because
It's the
we
quicker
use it
reload, indeed.
we use it as a battle ram, and that you give the enemy in brown pants alert, and just because of you rush in with a Vincent, and with a speed boost it goes almost 40 knots.
Over 40 knots when you go in a straight line for long enough.
Yeah, and people cannot really bow tank you because of the forward-facing torpedoes that do 30k each.
Right.
That too.
We call those the funny torps. So, okay. So there's Furious, and that's why you would take it on a British battleship. I don't think you would want to take it on any other battleship, frankly. But you can try.
Maybe in brawls, but
Yeah.
I'd probably take secondary skills and reload from secondary range before I take Furious then.
Now, you talked about it being a battering ram, so of course you want the ramming flag on. You've got anti-det, you've got fire reduction. Now here you've got a higher chance of causing flooding and fires, of course. Torpedoes for flooding, and then your secondaries for fires, maybe even primaries if you're going to shoot HE at something, which is interesting in the St. Vincent. I mean, it's 1/4 HE pen, so that could be fun. Flooding recovery, heal, speed, and then consumables. Yeah, so I don't think there's anything really missing flag-wise here. Shall we get to your
I would
game?
like to point out that if you take the flooding flag, you are either going to be on a flood for the entire duration in a ship that very much depends on being fast, which floodings reduce your speed, which you very much don't want to have reduced in the Vincent, so you're going to be DCPing that anyway. And if you can't DCP it, then, well, bad luck.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's take a look at this battle. Now, this is you guys against A&D, which I could have sworn, didn't we cast this game?
You guys casted the second and third match, I think.
Is this the first?
Yeah. This is the third game, I believe.
So we did cast this.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. Every time we casted their games, I got hungrier. Because all I kept thinking was, man, am I hungry? For whatever reason, all I kept thinking was munchies. My God, I want to eat.
You're welcome.
All right, so what's your initial plans here for deployment? What are you guys thinking?
Well, we're sending a YY and a Venezia over to the ACAP, and their job is literally just to spot and potentially catch DDs out and just be annoying
Mhm.
and keep their presence. So the main thing is that they do not easily go down unless you push into them and really try to finish them off. Because like the YY played carefully is just going to get the engagement potentially when he's broadside. Already starting to turn out, maybe juke a little bit by slowing down, so the first shell volley is going to land in front of you, and then you increase your speed so it lands behind you, and then you're gone. During that time, the Venezia is just there to use the spotting from the YY and potentially try and win a trade against the DD, because when that guy then is gone, the YY is infinitely more dangerous. Then we've got the B cap. The B cap is in the center of the map, and we've talked about the crossfires and how important they are. It's a very difficult cap to keep things alive on unless you vigorously use the islands. So we have chosen here to just send one YY there, and he's just going to be radaring for other people to get shots in potentially, like the Venezia and the Ohio.
I remember this game. Flateng, you almost took daring torpedoes early on, barely dodged them, and I think your Venezia, I used to be good, ends up against this island at Delta 2, kind of stuck.
Yeah, he did afterwards. I dodged. I had 2 brown pants moments at the cap. First, I don't know if it's that Minotaur or daring, but I was clinching pretty hard a couple of times there at B.
Okay, so how are you guys reading the enemy lineup, and how do you react to that lineup?
Well, we have seen that some teams are using a Minotaur on this map, and it's like 99% chance a radar Mino on the B cap on that island if they play from the south. Well, in this case, that was also true, so we kind of got an idea what the rest would be looking at. And then we already have spotted now 5 enemy ships, and like, well, you get already a general idea of what they are doing.
Yep.
Indeed.
So this is the game where you one-shot the Salem, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the nose one shot.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's worth mentioning, like, what's going on in the comms in the team right here is that there's a lot of engagement happening very early on this map. They're playing very aggressively or at A and B,
Yes,
especially with something like a Minotaur. So it's very important that we don't take too long and just make it like half the team versus their entire team kind of situation, and then when they're all dead, the rest of the team versus their entire team situation. So we're a little bit on the clock.
I'm pausing it here for a second because now, as streamers, the reason I asked you that question is because I know exactly what A&D is doing because I remember this game. But you guys don't have the benefit of watching this game live from both perspectives. You can only see it from yours, which is why it's so nice looking at this from this replay, because we really do see your guys' perspective. Now, Puddin and I know that they have dispatched one solitary Salem to cover everything south of DCAP, and he is going to butt up to the island at Golf 9 and sit there and play on his phone for the next 5 minutes. You guys don't know that. So you have to deploy based off of what you think the enemy is going to do. You've got your Stalingrad in a kite-away position, that's General Palladio, ready to go. You're going to go down the 10 line. Your Des Moines is with you, probably going to go down the 9 line. So you guys are planning on C grab and push around C with a hold at A, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Well, we knew that at some point there was something at sea because of the dumb radar. So we knew that there was a ship there. That's why also the St. Vincent and Des Moines did continue on the 9-10 line, and you see me a little bit later cutting through C to get into 7F.
Okay.
To get shots into the B cap because of the amount of ships that are present there.
What I love, though, is that one ship took however many of you guys out of the game for so long. We're going to see that in a little bit, because you mentioned the radar. Since you were radared, you knew there were assets there. You had to play carefully around it, because you don't want to just get yourself detected and flat-footed and, oh my god. Hey, brown pants mode for you, Lord Flateng.
Oh, yeah. If you go there, you can see it damn close as well, so, yeah.
I want to just cut in and ask, I just got a message from one of our other players that were in this game about joining the Discord now. He just
Yeah, of course. Bring him in. Bring
This is
him in.
then
Who-
I used to be good. Venezia in
Oh,
this game.
okay.
So we are with the Norwegian crew here.
We have a little bit of fun with that name today.
Oh, we had a great deal of fun with that. Because this is
Hello?
unfortunate for him. Hi, Anders. I'm guessing that's you, Mr. I Used to Be Good, currently stuck against an island behind you.
What island? Yeah, that's me, I guess. Yeah, sorry. I was under friend of things.
Hey, no need to apologize, man.
Engine boost activated.
Yeah,
I mean-
I just saw it now. I was really interested in seeing what you had to say.
Well, so Put and I commented how you had the ability to make inky, but you didn't do it. In other words, use your smoke. You used it after you'd already come off of the island to the point where it almost felt like it didn't really matter anymore. People had already shot you and done the damage they were going to do, which is negligible, fortunately for you.
I'm not following along. Which game is this?
This is the Land of Fire game against A-N-D, the last one that we lost.
Oh, yeah, the one I fucked up completely. Yes,
Yeah, I remember that. That's not my proudest moment. I
Right, now
should
we
have stayed behind island.
we try to
cannot
stay
get
away
spoiled.
from using gamer words if you can. So,
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. you're new, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My Norwegian
Sometimes it is
over.
what it is.
You messed up.
Yeah, I thought for a second I could really punish the Ragnar. That was my idea, at least. But
Okay.
it didn't happen.
Nope, you got those sap shells, so I understand. He's a possibility. Now, oh, I notice. Unfortunately, Raul, with you on the other side, or Raul, with you on the other side in the St. Vincent, we lose the ability to see what's going on the west flank. But Flateng is... You're stuck. I mean, you're now radared by the Ragnar. You got all the hate coming your way from Alpha. Are you thinking I'm going to stay here, or are you going to try to run away?
I have to stay at the moment, and I have to run away there. I think I run away in a few seconds. But here I'm on the radar from, I don't remember if it's from Ragnar or from Minotaur, and I'm meeting a lot from A as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
you-
also here have my second soon brown pants alert. Yeah. Oh, that's not it. It's one more afterwards. But I have to leave because I can't stay here in B, and also see Mr. Powerproof is coming in with daring here.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm also on the way of getting some angles on them on B.
Yep.
Because now you see that there's kind of a split. Like we decided to push on 910 is not needed because there's nothing really there. Saint Vincent is just pushing the 10 line. Des Moines is kind of getting a different angle on it if necessary, and I'm going to sit on the 7 line.
Now, I want to stop for a sec. Raul, I love you kept going down the 10 line past the fidget spinner. What was your thinking there? What was the decision making in continuing to send you down instead of going to the middle of the map at this point?
I mean, everyone is nostalgic about fidget spinners, so I wanted to spin it, right? No, we already had called out that there was an RPF direction down south of the sea cap, and you can't just cut in immediately and just leave a ship on the flank, because if there's a lone ship there, you can see in the minimap that everything is spotted except for one ship. And that is one of those ships that you really want to be fighting in a St. Vincent. So I decide here to keep going down, follow that RPF direction, while the rest of the boys are being called off to try and help maybe grab the B cap or try and get control over that situation the enemy now has created a very strong hold on. I know that there is a Salem somewhere, but at this point I'm just wondering, is he already retreating all the way down to the J line because he realizes that there's still 3 ships missing they haven't seen?
He could be,
And-
right? J10 would be smart for him.
That would be a smart thing, like getting me engaged with the Ohio and then him kiting away and dodging while my shells aren't that accurate at that range.
Sure. Now look at this. You're going 39.4 knots. I mean, you're going faster than destroyers in this game. It's stupid. But
That's the battle ram.
that's the battle
Game
ram.
mechanic.
Now, because you're located right? You know that the Salem is using radiolocation. You also know that you are closer to the Salem than the Des Moines is.
Indeed.
Which would help your theory that this guy is going to J10. Okay.
Yeah. So at this moment, I'm just kind of looking out for. Well, I'm actually having a bit of a moment here where I'm thinking I'm completely useless to my team, and it feels kind of awful.
Bad. Yeah.
But we have to clean up the flanks so that we can get a grab around them and create crossfires. We don't want to be crossfired, we want to create them. So we have to clean up, and we have to. We're communicating that we have to be a bit patient here, because we need to clean up our room before we can have the surge. So.
Okay.
Right now we're just waiting to see, because if he is on the J line, he's gonna have to progressively move from 10 towards 1 in order to kite from me, which again eliminates the crossfire. But there is the small possibility that he does what most Des Moines and Salems want to do, which is sit on an island so they can hold.
In which
so
case,
I'm preparing my guns.
In which case, he's at Golf 9 or Golf 10 Island, is what you're thinking,
Indeed.
right? Okay.
I haven't been spotted, and the concealment is quite low at 12.8, but he would have to be quite far down already in order to have kited. So here I'm pretty sure that he's on the island.
This game I absolutely loved casting because A&D basically threw away a ship for free, completely free, 100% free, and still found a way to win. So we'll take a look at that we'll take a look at that in a moment.
That is totally my bad.
But
yeah, we haven't got to that part yet. I see that.
Nope, but you're at full speed, and you're now clicking on that. Andy is saying he's got to be here. Andy's your Des Moines with you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. He's saying you got to be. No, he's the Marseille actually. No.
No,
Des Moines.
that's me.
He's Des Moines. And at this point, you are now proxy spotting the Salem. This is the part where Put and I are looking at this and saying, "Wait a second. Why is he not just charging you and ramming you in the face? Instead, he's backing up. And by backing up, he's basically giving you the complete 100% initiative to just delete him off the board." Let's watch.
Yeah, it's quite glorious.
Let's watch.
Bye.
We destroyed an enemy cruiser.
2 citadels, 52 and change. Super heal that.
What if that was my comment?
Here's the part where you teabag him and throw your funny torp at him anyways. Or at least ASW depth charge him. Gotta get the survivors, man. Gotta get the survivors.
So here's where we try to grab the initiative. We now have a charging St. Vincent, we have a Marseille, we have a Des Moines trying to work his way up so that he can have angles on the B cap as well. Right now we have a broadside Moskva, we have a broadside Minotaur to the Vincent, and both of those guys can very easily go down here. So this is now a race against the clock for them to pull those ships back and get them either kited or angled to the St. Vincent and the others. But they do the very smart move here of moving the Moskva completely unable to fight any ships, but also take damage from any other ships than the Vincent. He actually managed to get there, and I make the mistake of prioritizing the Minotaur because I very much care for my DDs, instead of prioritizing the Moskva. If I had prioritized the Moskva in this situation, the game could have actually gone the other way.
Yeah, so I'm slowing this down at the slowest because I think this is like the previous replay. There's a lot to talk through here, right? You are pushing forward. There's an Ohio in front of you. You know that you're not going to kill him anytime soon. But at the same time, the only other choice really is that Moskva, yeah?
Indeed. And he's already at this point aware.
I think we tried at this point to. We know the Minotaur was last spot at least close to B, and we tried to get a grab around him that he could not. If he was spotted for a split second, we could have had 5 ships shooting him. One of them would have been a shot on broadside. That was our idea at this point, I think.
Okay.
Initially, at least.
So you're trying.
I was quite unlucky also with the overmatch on the Mino with the Marseille, because I should be able to overmatch his nose and potential citadel in from the front, but that was not happening, sadly. And I could not really push out because of the amount of ships there, plus a daring and a Minotaur with single torp launch.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought overmatch equals you win automatically. Is that not true?
Really not.
Not always.
Not always. So, I mean, no, Stevie, that's
Even
not
with
for you.
reload even with reload booster, it didn't matter.
Okay. I mean, you're in a very strong position in the Marseille there. It looks like you're asking your Des Moines to move up to that gap, which makes sense. You can radar the Minotaur from that. It also allows you to get in there. Air Shy Bell, thank you very much for the follow and the sub, dude. Really appreciate that. Let's get back to Raul's position. Raul, at this point, do you advance on the Ohio, or do you slow down and stop here? What's your thinking?
Well, right now you can see my my gun range. It's just on the Moscow. If he reverses a bit further, he actually outranges me a bit with his guns.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially. I actually didn't know what build he was. Reload he wouldn't, but
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be sure that I would be able to keep shooting the cruisers, because I don't really care about the Ohio at this point. If there's just an Ohio left, we have 2 YYs, and that's GG. But killing off that Moskva and killing off that radar Minotaur, that's just taking out 2 very powerful area denial ships. So that is my goal here.
Okay. And that's
the Ohio
that's a good.
obviously is obstructing it.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, because the Ohio, frankly, I feel like the only way to kill him is in the process killing yourself, and that's if the 2 of you just keep shooting each other. Nice citadel. That was on the Moskva, I'm guessing. Or was it not?
No, sorry, that was a blind fire on the Minotaur.
Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, because the Minotaur doesn't change. So, kind of like the last game, you were talking with your Vermont about getting the enemy interested in you. I feel like you got super interested in the Minotaur now, right? Like, you're like, oh, let's go.
Indeed.
One
Well, that's
more
kind
hit.
of That's kind of the pin that holds their B cap, because the Ragnar and Daring cannot really hold it on their own with so much cruisers surrounding it.
Now, Gandalf the Grey asked a question. Hi, Gandalf. Your Stalingrad looks like he's leaving the area. What's the decision for that?
So at this point, I don't think there was a lot going on, but I don't think we actually made a call for him to do that. I think he did it on his own intuition, and that's another important thing in a higher level KOTS team, I would say, that you have some intuition and that you know, and that you can freely use that intuition if you feel it's correct. Because sometimes there's just so much going on that you need people to be able to make a play themselves.
So, in other words, you are trusting that people are going to make decisions based off their informed situation. They don't have to specifically ask a caller, hey, I'd like to do this. Can I do that instead?
Exactly. And I also believe that it's better to have people all kind of work with calling, because you can't have one person that knows everything unless you can suddenly allow like Klembels and KOTS to have a spectator as a caller.
God, that'd be nice, wouldn't
Oh yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
And for his perspective, he cannot see what's happening on A. Like, he can see in the repel file, you can only see a little bit of a square, and that's it.
now I will mention he's full health right now. So he's got a good opportunity if he wanted to full send into B cap. Now, if I were to do that as the Stalingrad, I'd probably go to exactly where Power Proof is in the Daring, with the idea being I can radar the Minotaur, I can radar whoever else is down there, and then it's a damage race, right? And our guys kill the Minotaur faster than the Stalingrad goes down. But at this point, Palladio is thinking, I need to save my hit points for the later portion of this game.
I actually think what he's doing here is preparing to get Bowen and be more aggressive.
So he's
He's
moving.
turning down towards B here. I think he's doing.
I believe
He's
he
gonna
was
hook.
told to go I think he was told to go 180 degrees, go bow in, stop
Oh,
pushing
he
up.
was told?
Okay. And in order to do that, you don't just turn the rudder and hit W. You get the speed going first, then you make the turn, because it's much harder for you to get hit in the process of doing that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He was so far away from the enemy. It should have been done. I think they were already
He does
focused
take
on
his shots.
Vincent and Daring. So.
Yeah.
Daring,
and at this
you-
point, sorry. Go ahead.
No, Powerproof kills the Delny. That was huge. That was with a full spread. That wasn't single fire torps. I remember Puddin and I both commented on that.
Indeed, and one of the important things that is going on here for me in the Vincent right now is that I'm realizing that I'm on the clock. I have to make a decision here. Do I shoot the Moskva? Do I try to focus down the Ohio so that I can potentially go dark? And hope that I can outtrade him with the help of my teammates?
Yeah.
Do I hold my guns ready in case we get a short, brief spot of the Minotaur so that I can finally delete him? There's
That's
so
what
many
you're
things
looking
that you
for
have to
there.
think about here. Maybe even just taking like a shot at the DDs so that we can get an initiative to actually finish one of them off, which could at this point, if you know the whole game, could have actually been a game decider.
Absolutely. Now, it looks to me, instead of engaging the Ohio, you are choosing to hold your shots for something else. Now, were you guys talking, was the Des Moines saying, I will get into position and I will radar the Minotaur?
He's in fact radaring right now as we speak.
Okay, so you were expecting this Minotaur to show up on radar, which is why you held your shots. Again, you got to Citadel on him earlier, blind fire. You know he's about there, and you're ready to punish. But the Minotaur doesn't show up on the radar.
Unfortunately not. He was smart enough to get leaving, and I actually saw this right after we finished against RB. He was right at the edge of that radar range the entire way away. So it was actually quite funny to see, like a Benny Hill moment.
Well, so props to that player for recognizing that. That's Angel, and getting out of dodge.
Problem solved, sir.
And he kind of did to you what you did to the enemy team in the previous game. He got you very interested to the point where you were willing to hold fire and not shoot anybody else for a while. I remember Puddin and I both kind of commenting on that, saying, why isn't he shooting? And then finally you do
Indeed.
with HE. And by this point it's
I
too late.
realized-
It's
Yeah, I realize here, like, the only way I'm going to get dog is by just reversing and hoping that I can out-heal, RNG, and out DCP, and finally go dark so I can have some more impact later in the game, because they outplayed us right there with that Minotaur turning out.
and you're not able to do so. If I remember right, you tried putting your engine boost on, it runs out, and the Ohio walks away, but you kept shooting here.
Yeah, at this point, I'm on fire, so my detection range is increased to 14 point something at this point, and I realize that I have to get outside of the either my firing range when on fire, or wait until my DCP is ready and then make sure that that times well with when my fire bloom stops. And you see, I actually go dark the last second, and then I die.
And then you die. So here's a situation where I think Furious worked a little bit against you, because you
Indeed.
allowed yourself to be burned for longer than you needed to, because you were on double fire and didn't DCP right away, and then, obviously because of that, you got set on fire permanently for a bit longer, and there goes I used to be good's Venezia to the Minotaur of all people.
Yeah.
I do believe it was the Kremlin softening up first.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was,
they did-
it was,
Focus fire.
Yeah.
that was a pure misplay by me. Not gonna lie,
Okay.
that was the worst I've been, I think.
So what was the misplay? We didn't really see it, unfortunately, because of the way the replay works, right? Because
Okay,
it
so
was on your side
what I'm thinking is that they have only Des Moines there.
at
So
A.
I'm saying to my YueYang, I'm not sure if it was Mamba, I think.
Hmm.
I'm saying to him, I'm gonna push down. It's only Des Moines there. I can push closer, and I can hopefully get some good shots on the destroyer, or better off, it would be a Minotaur.
Uh huh.
And we,
So I push
we are-
down. I see a gearing sailing my direction. No, sorry, Ragnar sailing in my direction. I have SEP loaded, and I'm hoping that I can go around the corner, slap him for like at least 15k. It was like 8 kilometers, I think, and it was just outside his spotting range. So I couldn't pull the shells off, and instead I didn't notice the Kremlin pushing into me. I think he took me off of like 20k at least, maybe 30. Des Moines, as knowledgeable as he is, he's pushed around. He knows that I'm screwed, so he pushed around, finished me off, and I couldn't get any shells off. I see the Minotaur going broadside to me, so I swapped from a ready shelled, already gunned SAP salvo to a AP salvo.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that I will get my shells off in time.
Which obviously did not work.
Yeah, it was 1 second off getting off.
So, a lot of things happened right there. And I feel like, let's go back to that moment. I called you out at the early start of the game where you ended up stuck against that island at Delta 2. You used that smoke screen when you were probably no longer detected anyway. Obviously, that was your insurance that you wouldn't be shot at further, but I feel like that made it harder for you later in the game. You did not have that ability to use it when you needed it most. Is that correct, or did you have it available at the time? Do you remember?
I did not have it available at the time, but I'm not sure if the reason why I did it earlier. I don't think it was ever stuck on the island, to be honest.
You were not stuck on the island, no.
I'm not sure. It's you have to replay it. I can't remember.
We'll take a look at the render in a few minutes. Not a problem. The other big thing, part of the reason I paused it here is because that dang Ragnar was so close to dead.
Yeah.
And we're seeing Rawls spectating on that.
Scoreboard.
Yeah, and he's
It's on
commenting.
30k or something, 30 HP or something.
825, I think.
Yeah.
And I know for sure that he's low, and I'm sure that Rawls is saying to the team, this Ragnar is almost there. And just at the moment when you guys had a chance, unfortunately, he goes dark, and you're not able to keep
That's when
shooting
I
him.
show up and die.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So, two things at this moment. One is your Des Moines, unfortunately, is not in a position to do much help. If the Ohio, I thought the Ohio might have backed up to try to shoot Andy in the face. He did not do that, so that worked out well. There was a question about Furious, and does it mean you have to shoot more? And no, it doesn't mean you have to shoot more, Dutch. But because you get that reload boost, it kind of encourages you to shoot more, which, unfortunately for Rawls, was not what he wanted to do. Because by shooting, his gun boom goes out to max for 20 seconds, which ultimately got him killed. So, it happens.
And the enemy we faced did not really play into the tactic that we had, because the idea is that C is heavy contested by the enemy, and that you can use the speed of the Marseille and the Saint Vincent to create chaos, really. But yeah, there was only one Salem, and he it took one volley of to get rid of him.
What I love about this replay, I mean, first of all, you lost, and Zest Replay Theater has a 95% win rate, so thank you very much for taking it down one. But more importantly, the reason that you lost here is because you expected more of a show on CCAP, and Put and I both looked at it, and when we were covering this live, saying, what the hell is A&D doing? They literally threw away a Salem for free. Like, they parked him there, getting no vision on the enemy team, mind you, and then Rawls just literally walks up and shoots him in the face once, and he dies. Wow, you got great use out of that Salem. But in the process of doing so, pulled 4 people down. And that's what does it, right? Because they put so much of their assets in the middle and on the flank. So
you could put it like this: like when you use a strategy with a Vincent like this, you're kind of hoping for them to have 2 or 3. If they have 4 or 5 ships there, like we did, then you're suddenly a little bit in a moment where you have an equal amount of potential power there. But then the ship choices kind of make up for that, because like if you can make a play that is so quick that you literally make it within a few reloads, they won't have the time to take down someone properly unless they land a really good battleship salvo or a torpedo salvo. So you can maybe take down 2 of them and make it 5 versus 3, versus a little bit of lost HP that you can then regain with the super heal. So it's a very powerful push when they play into it, like Colo said. Unfortunately, they did not. They did probably one of the best things against the strategy, was just to have one ship just hanging about, just waiting there, just making sure that we have to remove him. Because like, worst case scenario, he's helping kill off ships, like the Des Moines position there. Best case scenario, if we left him alone, he would just be there, and then eventually maybe backcap the C cap at an opportune moment when we are kind of fighting the game is all about points and kind of fighting for the points and who's going to be gaining the most, right? So you kind of have to deal with him. That's the unfortunate thing, but that's why we split up the way we did. Normally, if there's a lot of ships there, we would have all ships pushing down, but we split the Des Moines and the Marseille away. Really unfortunate just how it ended up going down.
I had commented, and hi Sohn, by the way, guys. I just put a link out in chat for Sohn there. Check him out. Really cool guy. But I had commented how that Salem was really trying to be a trapdoor spider, right? He was waiting for you all to leave CCAP, and then he was just going to come out and grab it himself, and then get behind you guys. But of course, Rawls, you just showed up in front of him and just smacked him in the face, which I don't think he was expecting. So, hey, it kind of worked out there, but at the same time, like you said, it pulled so many of your assets out of being able to assist. And the other big thing is that Stalingrad, you guys were talking about, you weren't aware of exactly what he was going to do. You thought he was going to head that direction. He eventually does. If he was 1 grid square closer, that's a dead Ragnar right there.
Yeah.
Most likely. That's how close it got.
Very, very close. And there is even like 2 blind fires going on afterwards, just because he is that low, that is that worth it.
I saw that.
So
so
at this point we really need to do something, and I think you see the Stalingrad now also start pushing in like full speed.
Why not?
And the same goes for me, just to try to get angles, maybe get a spot someone accidentally shoots or something, just to try to get a kill or try to get angles, but it was just too late.
So I just want to have a fangirl moment as Kinnymod has graced us with his presence. He says that Vincent and Marseille are actually very good in this situation since you have the speed to rejoin the battle quickly. That is true. In this game, Marseille and Vincent playing together will be able to keep pushing around the flank and just focus down whatever tries to stop them, one after another. Unfortunately, the Marseille went into the middle. And I think that's what allowed you, Rawls, to eventually get farmed down to death, right?
To an extent, yeah. Another option would be, because like you can take a small look at the islands where the Des Moines and the Marseille are right now. You can see the profile of those islands. You can use the profile of those islands to still get shells in, and even from quite relative safety. So I was calling out that we need to focus on this Ohio at some point in there, because we just never found the Minotaur. Because if we could just get the right amount of shells, the right amount of RNG, because I did catch him with a fire, and he did disappear instantly. So if we could have just caught him out, making that instant DCP mistake, we could have traded for him. Would potentially even allowed me to go dark. But we just had way too many things going on at the same time, and you can see Stalin shooting at the Ohio here again. Fortunately, he's going to have to shoot at something. So at this point, there's really only battleships to shoot at. But even before, he was also helping shoot the Ohio.
So we're about 15 minutes into the game. Enemy team has 900 points. You guys are at 726. They've got 2 caps. No, you've got 2 caps. Sorry, they've got 1. You're down 1 ship compared to them. Health-wise, you're pretty close. what's the talk through at this point? Are you guys like, we need to make a play, or are you still
Yes.
thinking? Yes. Okay, you are thinking I need to make a play.
Yeah, I think you already see the Stalingrad like now almost on B, and I think he is running in now with radar,
Mm-hmm.
or he is about to pop it. And I'm also using my speed boost to gain eyes on like Moscow, Ohio, and maybe I catch one of the destroyers. But yeah, they played it smart and did run away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
But
that's
second of all, you can see they've parked the Ohio and they've moved the Kremlin up, and it's as a seasoned clan battles or just World of Warships player, you can kind of see what it is they're trying to achieve by doing so. They're locking down the area for the ships that can make a play here, because we have YueYangs, they can't really make a play on a Ragnar or a Daring because they'll
No.
just gun them down without any help even.
Mhm.
But the Stalingrad, the Marseille, the Des Moines, they're infamous cruisers that can easily make short work of any ship in the right situation.
Mhm.
But if you put a Kremlin in the middle and you put an Ohio in the south, these cruisers will have to come out from behind the islands, and then they're just one shot away from dead at any given time. The only ship that
Especially-
could really do anything was the Stalin.
Especially Andy sitting there. You didn't come out through that channel because the Ohio was right there, right? The Ohio will overmatch his bow and just Citadel slap him. So
Yeah.
at this point, your Stalingrad's moving. Hello, you're saying you've got the ability to move forward to Marseille. I'm guessing you're just hitting W at this point, trying to make something work, right?
Yeah, at least like a desperation move, you can really say, because
But
we
you-
need to have something.
What you really need to happen is your Stalingrad keeps going. He can't stop at the island. He has to keep going. If only he was there a minute ago, this would have been a very different situation. It is what it is. Marseille, you, Colo, you're going to move forward. Andy wants to move forward, but he really can't until you are about a full grid square forward of where you are right now, right? Because he can't risk being shot at by the Ohio. Kremlin too, I suppose, but the Ohio mainly, right?
Yeah, well, if he's trying to leave those islands and go towards the 6th line, he is probably the most interested target for the Kremlin, Ohio, Moscow to shoot at, because he
Exactly.
has the highest DPM and has the softest armor of them all.
Mm-hmm. Now, your YueYang, that's Lord Fletting, you. Wait, no, you're at B. The other YueYang, who is that?
Mamba.
Oh, that's Mamba. So he is really kind of screwed, right? Because he's at A. He wants to go into A, but he's got a Des Moines coming after him. The Minotaur's over there. So the two weakest targets that you guys could possibly slap for that quick kill are pretty much as far away from you guys as possible. Except for your Ohio player. He might have a shot.
Right.
Here
Take a
also, I
look.
think the YueYang should have not stayed at the end of the cap, but he should just went behind the island at A.
So if he dove the island, you're saying?
Yeah. So he can be radared and hydroback back there, but nothing much can shoot him. And if they want to dig him out, they have to put the Des Moines up there.
Mm-hmm.
Then he can just wait there for his torp. So he will slow the presence down with the Des Moines if he has gone behind the cap there. But I don't know.
Right.
I don't remember if he was spotted before he went in or something. But I think there he should have dove between the island there, and then we would have blocked A as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it also could have went the other way.
If I recall correctly, he backs into A. The Minotaur is the one radaring him. I do remember this because Bud and I both said he's pretty much dead to the Minotaur, and he actually survives a little bit longer than expected. But you're right, the torpedo threat could have held the Des Moines and Minotaur at bay for a good amount of time. But instead, he's out in the open for everybody to shoot at. Dutch, you're saying what side of the island should the Stalin move on, the 5 or 6 line? Absolutely, in my opinion, the 5 line. He's got to go aggressive. He's got to get on the Kremlin's broadside at the very least. If he's lucky, he sees somebody else to shoot at too. That's broadside, but he can't afford the 6. The 6 side of the island, the right side of the island, is the safer side. We're beyond safety at this point. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, the Stalingrad and the Des Moines are both shooting at the broadside of the Kremlin, trying to focus him down. That was kind of the call at the moment.
Okay.
Because he can be shot at by like all our cruisers and battleship. So that was kind of the idea, and eventually he will go down, but it just takes too long to like meaning any full meaningful change to the match.
Well, so the Kremlin has really strong side armor. At the same time, of course, if you give that side to a battleship, it's very weak. But against cruisers like Andy's Des Moines, that's firing at let's call it medium range. It's medium to long range. Those shells probably aren't going to do enough. They're not going to, certainly not going to Citadel the Kremlin. Polo, your Marseille probably has the best chance of Citadeling him. But even then, I don't know. Stalingrad Palladio probably can make it happen if Harunokaini turns, which he will turn in a minute.
Yeah.
The biggest problem really with citadeling this Kremlin, this broadside, is that his citadel armor, especially since he's just going forwards and not in the middle of a turn, which would have made his ship angle
More open.
differently.
Yeah.
Exactly. So his broadside armor, his citadel armor here, is protected by an angled plate inwards down towards the water, like a triangular shape, which means that the effective armor thickness increases, but the angle also increases. So like for more lobby shells, you could well, that's a very extreme example, but like say plunging fire from a minute or from a Monty, for example, or like an NC or whatever, it would potentially even ricochet against it. But what effectively just happens is that it just increases the thickness of the armor. So
Yeah.
Marseille, Stalingrad, even Petro, like these shells won't pen him at the Citadel until they get within medium short range.
Right. So at that point, you're either shooting HE or you're aiming for the bow or the stern for more guaranteed penetration damage as opposed to center of mass and that really thick armor scheme.
Yeah, for me, I'm shooting at the upper belt to be like center of mass, try to hit as many shells and try to get as many full pens, because that is the only meaning of the most damage I can do from the range and position that I'm at.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to visualize this, understand. So I'm holding my hand flat. Assume this is the Citadel roof of Harunokaini. If he turns left, in order to turn left, he's going to go like this. In a sense, he's exposing his Citadel roof to plunging fire, which the Des Moines probably doesn't have enough penetration to do a Citadel. Polo, you and the Marseille probably has the best shot of this. Palladio, maybe, if he turns enough to face Palladio, but Harunokaini didn't do that. He turned in. By turning in, he turns his Citadel armor this direction, which means that now you're facing his upper belt and the midsection belt as he turns towards B cap. The only real chance of then getting a Citadel is if that armor plating on the side doesn't go beyond the waterline, because it raises up. If you can hit that one little spot, God, that's tough to do.
Yeah, and the Marseille's accuracy is not really allows it to do that, like with consistency. And what you now need is consistency, because we need to get him out.
Right. Not at your range there. If you were a full grid square closer, you've got a better chance of making that work. But you weren't.
Yeah.
You were at that position.
Exactly.
He's fast, but he's not that fast.
Well, Kolo was already backing up, and then to change to forward, even if you've got engine boost going, it's not going to happen fast enough. Harunokaini 6K, and then he goes dark. You guys probably don't realize. Nope, there it is. 483 hit points.
Yeah, we know that he was low HP. That's why also Lord of Tang was also using the radar. So you see like everyone shooting at them.
And Jaina trying to do what you guys did last game, trying to get the distraction going with the shells.
Or at least buy some free damage while everyone is busy.
Yeah, and at this moment you also see like I think right now is the moment that I'm also pushing, because the crossfire is gone.
And here's the reason why you never play as Stalingrad up close and personal in KOTS, or clan battles, or even randoms for that matter, because he's gonna set some fires, and when that damage con is used, you get 60-second fires until you have a new damage con.
That's right. Jaina's going to just set him on fire again. He doesn't care about AP hitting him. It'll do some damage, but more importantly, Palladio is going to be just he's going to turn into a Roman candle.
Yes. That's why we are also very careful of like pushing him in, because if they notice soon enough, they can farm it easily.
I feel like this is a bit of a mistake on Palladio's perspective. He's already there, he's spotted. At that point, backing up and trying to play the bow tank game isn't going to work. The Ohio already slapped him a little bit. I feel like he would be better served just Wing forward at full speed and trying to maneuver and dodge shells that way, as opposed
For
to
sure.
just getting farmed. But this very moment highlights why a Moskva is better than a Stalingrad in many situations. Why did you pick Stalingrad instead of Moskva here?
You cannot
We
pick
usually
a Moscow.
mentioned-
Anders
We're
can
not
take
allowed-
that one. He can explain it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, we're bound to pick either Marseille, Napoli, Vincent, or Moscow. And the reason we're
Yeah.
picking Stalin is to create a crossfire with something else.
Got it.
And at this point, we're using the Vincent to push the 10 line, so we picked the Stalin because it's loud at first, and also because he can crossfire so well on the 67 lines. You don't want to show broadside to Stalin ever in
No.
any ships.
Okay.
So if you use the Vincent,
You can
that can
Citadel
push
on Ohio at
pretty
max
damn
range.
hard. Yeah, you can Citadel almost anything, except the German, I think.
So two things
we're
happen.
using-
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
So
please.
we're using the Vincent to push down one line. And then we need to have a crossfire with another ship. We can either put a battleship or we can put a Stalin. And in our decision, we put a Stalin. So we can
Okay.
create a crossfire towards where the Ohio and Moscow is kind of. That's why we're using Stalin.
And
And
this
also
is
because
more
of
so,
the limitations
yeah.
for the ships. Yeah.
But even more so, like if you're pushing a Marseille and a Saint Vincent around the fidget spinner, as we so eloquently put it, if the ship is early and leaving in a diagonal line down towards like J5, for example, he is then going to be ass into both Saint Vincent and the Marseille. Probably not too happy about his positioning at that point anyway. But then the point is that the Stalingrad would then be able to finish him off even quicker. And he would be able to then create crossfire from the north alongside Ohio from the flank that we've then made very strong on the sea side.
So
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry,
was
go
going to say
ahead.
that the Stalin also has the improved pen angles, in addition to having some incredible pen. So, like, if you can get a crossfire with a Stalingrad up, you'd probably not really want any other ship to do that job, except for maybe a Slava, if you really want to guarantee the damage.
So a few things to unpack from there. One, there's limitations in King of the Sea. You can't take more than one of, what is it, Moskva, Napoli.
Vincent.
Napoli, and Marseille.
Right. So by you choosing to take the St. Vincent, all right, automatically you cannot take a Moskva, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay. So that's the first item out there. The second item out there is you're looking at the Stalingrad as kind of, in a sense, a discount battleship, right? Because it has the AP slapping capability that a battleship has, but it's in a cruiser hull.
Yeah,
So as a result, your plan for the Stalingrad is more of a early to mid game influencer, right? He's out there trying to slap away a cruiser that's not suspecting him. In other words, a Stalingrad like current is terrible in the late game. Yes?
Yeah, it definitely in this instance it definitely is, because he's the one really forcing the play, and he is in the middle. Like if the Stalingrad would be on the flank, it would be on a very different occasion.
I would disagree and play the devil's advocate here, right? Because the
Please.
Stalingrad is the one that pushed in. And why is that? Well, it's because it has an icebreaker. It has good, strong deck armor, upper belt, and citadel armor. for a cruiser. If you catch him broadside, he's dead, for sure. But he can push bow into even a battleship, which we see that the Marseille and the Des Moines are not doing. I also see in chat someone is pointing out that the Marseille and Des Moines should have pushed. And at this very screen frame here, I would agree. We were a bit focused on the low ships and wherever they could possibly be. But if we had pushed these two guys bow in to the Moskva and the Ohio, who are, once again, like we talked about before, in the same square, we've got a very high DPM ship and a fairly high DPM ship that slaps fairly hard with HE and could potentially even push the crossfire as they get there and pull some of the attention away from the Stalin.
Right.
But games go the way they do.
Yeah, I definitely made some misplays for sure. I've been too passive, but you have to deal with those as well.
So,
But
Paulo,
also, you see the enemy Ohio down there, so if you had pushed out, you had been at a great crossfire for the Kremlin and Marseille as well. And enemy Ohio, because I think he's still lurking down there.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So
But
if
in
you
this
pushed-
in this moment, the Kremlin is dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you could have then you opened up the possibility.
Yeah, so now
Yep.
they can push a bit, but before I think it was they couldn't push because of the
Yeah,
enemy Ohio
for sure.
down on 5-6 line. Because
And-
if Kulu had pushed out the one square in front of him,
Mm-hmm.
he would had felt the pain from Ohio, I think.
Yes.
In this game, as we all know, there's momentum in order to move. It's not like World of Tanks where you can just hit W and show up where you want to be in that particular second. You have to plan for it about a minute in advance. So back up a minute, that Kremlin is still very much alive. And what you guys are saying is that was an important threat that kept you guys in check from pushing too far forward. Yes?
Absolutely.
Now,
Well,
I agree.
I'll say this much: like everyone's talking about, like they're gonna save the Stalingrad, and even in this game, just because somebody opens up doesn't mean people are gonna shoot at it. Like everybody ignored the daring to put shells in on a low health target. Just because your Des Moines Marseille now decide to push out in a do or die situation that they are literally in, they're gonna keep focus fire on Stalingrad unless that Des Moines is showing full broadside, because that is the only guaranteed yeet.
So the problem with Andy looking at his Des Moines is that he was trying to get his third turret off at the first the Kremlin, and then later he's probably thinking the Ohio. And in doing so, that forces him at an angle where he really just can't hit W and go through the channel. He's got to back up. So he's lost valuable time in order to get himself to move forward.
I mean, the other thing is, I do believe the other teams on one cap win.
So the other point that I want to make and put, and thank you for making for me, is when you recognize we're going to lose unless we have the big crazy play, is everybody needs to be prepared for that big crazy play. Palladio was ready for that big crazy play. Julio and Andy were not. And as a result, Palladio gets farmed down when Polo, you go ahead.
I would probably say that Carlo was kind of prepared because he can just drive out.
Yeah, I could not
Andy
really go.
was probably not, because he when he goes forward, he going to an island, or he gotta wait maybe 30-40 seconds to pass the island.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with the statement that Oli Palladio he knew the situation that they had to do something.
Sure.
Yeah, but we also had a better angle for the Kremlin-Ohio combination. Like, if I would have gone forward, I would be more aggressive, and probably they would also start shooting me. But I almost have to show broadside to or a Kremlin or an Ohio, and neither of those ships at that range you want to show broadside in a cruiser.
Absolutely. The hard part for you, Kahlo, is you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? If you move forward, you're concerned that you'll show broadside, you'll get slapped, everybody will scream at you as you die, and therefore lose the game, and you're out of KOTS. If you don't move forward, well, you'll be okay, but you don't know what's going to happen with the rest of your teammates. And as you can see, Palladio is getting farmed. He's going to die, and they'll scream at him as you all get out of COTS. So it's kind of,
Yeah, exactly.
which of those two
Yeah,
do you
so-
take?
I
But also
personally,
where, but also where we have an Ohio who shouldn't have turned and went back to B, he should also push up back
Thank
to A.
you.
of course, and dealt with that
Oh.
Des Moines because he can have just whooped his ass. Whooped, yep. And so that could also have changed the direction of the game.
There's
I
a
would also like to
point.
point out here that we were just talking about like players and their mindsets about pushing and not, and that is in fact one of the more interesting attributes that you have to look at when you're a caller or someone who's making the strategies or even a clan leader, because you're going to be faced with some decisions of like where you put who and how, knowing the players that you're next to, what tendencies they have, because we all have like a more aggressive tendency, a more passive tendency. You know, you have those people posting screenshots on your Discord server with 300k HE damage farmed throughout an entire randoms game, and then you have that one guy who's posting the screenshot of someone instantly blowing up, but that's the damage they got. So you've got like different tendencies from different players. They can all understand the game to the same extent, but they can enjoy and have a tendency towards different things. And like you can easily see here that Palladio is happy to go in and be the thing that's necessary to happen, whereas we have Colo and Andy who are a little bit more careful in their personal approach typically, and then of course empowered by what kind of a ship they're put into.
Yeah, especially because I don't have the Marseille on my own account, so I've been playing it for like 5 battles up until this point. So that's my only experience in that ship.
So
And then playing.
But you do
in-
usually play Napoli.
Yeah, I'm playing the odd heavy carriers or cruisers. Sorry.
So that's one of the things Puddin and I mentioned before. There was chat about the Brisbane, right? Why is the Brisbane allowed in COTS if you can't even buy it? Well, everybody's got a press account, so in theory, everybody can access the Brisbane. But there's a difference between having access to it on your account and having actually played it live on your own account in random battles for 50 to 100 games. Yes, you can play a few training room battles, but Colo, you and the Marseille there, you don't necessarily know the capabilities of your ship just yet. You don't know what it can accomplish when it's down to the wire, and that doesn't happen until you get to at least 50 battles of experience in randoms or ranked.
Yeah, and in combination that my main account has like 3.5k battles, I'm quite unexperienced compared to some other people of my team.
Wait, time out. Did you just say 3,500 battles total?
Yes.
What the hell? And you're at this stage in King of the Sea?
Yes.
He is good.
sometimes we're lucky with our teammates. You know,
Being
Guys-
good at the game is not about how many battles you have. It's about what goes through your brain as you push your buttons.
I suppose I'm really feeling like there's a sus moment here, but this is, I mean,
No reroll, by the way.
So, and,
it's
Wow.
a second account.
wow, and this is EU COTS where you got to this point. I'm so, like, okay, cool. I've often talked to people in previous weeks about the importance of playing COTS and jumping in and just throw your team at it. And who cares if you lose and everybody laughs at you? You still learn from the process. Here's an example. 3,500. God dang it. When did I have 3,500 battles? I got to say that was like a month after closed beta or something. And
I'm
here
pretty
you
sure
are.
when I had 3.5, I had like 40% win rate or something. Like,
That's what I'm
Yeah,
getting
me
at.
too.
Colo's innate
That's-
natural
yeah.
talent.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
I-
getting at.
I have 58.
Show off.
Show off.
So there's a moment. I want to get back to this game for a sec. There's a moment that I think you guys need to have this like nuclear button. When it gets called, everybody just hits W, and who the hell cares what happens? And I feel like that moment needed to be called about a minute ago, because then Colo goes full W. Andy's stuck. I don't know how Andy can get out of that position.
I agree. He's stuck.
But if he knew a minute earlier, okay, the nuclear option is getting called, and by nuclear option I mean everybody just hits W. Hope and pray. It's the Hail Mary in football. We hope that it works. And can we make it happen? Unfortunately, that didn't get called here, and as a result, Palladio he's the only one thinking nuclear option. Everybody else, I think, is thinking, wait, nope, I'm sorry. Letang, you're also thinking nuclear option, because there you are in the YueYang coming out in front of the Daring like a champ. Can I make something happen?
For him to open fire.
Sure. Well,
Yeah,
what do you got
it
to
was,
lose?
yeah, what I got to lose. Yeah, I know we're gonna lose this fight against the Daring, and we know if you see the points, we know we have to get the kill here
Yes.
because they are too far
We have
ahead
to
of the
do.
points. Yeah, we have to do something. And here,
We
of
have
course,
to do.
the Daring
Yes, sorry.
spoke up.
Think about that Daring and his HP. He's on 11,000 HP. One good 6-slap HE salvo from a Stalingrad, and he is instantly down to very low HP. We've got
Sure.
a YY with 6 guns, and if he also lands a 6-gun volley on the Daring, like doesn't even have to be all 6, but like he shot 2 salvos. If they all connected quite well, that could have been a dead Daring. You
That's
never
right.
know, and you lose all the times you don't try. So we could have
Absolutely.
just given up here, and we could have just called, well, this is lost. But we always fight until the very last end.
Yep.
Because, like, just look at how we got here as well. We actually tied on points in the qualifiers with OSTX. And in fact, the only thing that decided that we were the guys who continued to this weekend was the sheer amount of points difference between us in the games they won and the games we won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 27 capture points were the difference.
Oh
Otherwise,
my
we need
God.
to play a
27.
tiebreaker match.
And that's the
So
difference
if you
between you
have-
guys being here.
Yes.
Wow.
So if we had just given up and started shooting the ground and said whatever, we would not have been here. You have to try your very best all the way through.
And to call those, you hit W. You recognize the threat. Andy's leaving, but you recognize the threat, and you hit W.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
But you realize that the situation, and Palladio, by the way, is not dead. So even though he sat there and got farmed, we talked about him for so long, he's still okay. At 15k, he's healed. Flateng is detected. You're getting shot at, but again, it's only 10 cap points now, so we're talking 12 seconds.
Yeah,
At
we
the
tried
most?
to get the kill. The
he
Ohio
goes
was
down.
kind of broadside towards me, so I think I'm using my last reload booster with AP on him to try to get as much damage in, but it was already too late.
Yeah.
I do want to say a little word for Andy here. He might have run away that game, but he has also in another KOTS game literally taking out an Ohio on his own in a 1v1.
My God. Into Des Moines?
Into Des Moines.
Oh, that's impressive. And by the way, I know Andy's not here, so we can make cracks at him regardless, but like,
We will let him know. Don't worry.
We'll let him know.
I don't
Great,
think it's
thanks.
fair to pick on Andy just because he was putting a food order in the middle of COTS.
Well, it was that kind of time, yeah.
But regardless, I mean, he was in a bad position. We've acknowledged that. I'm sure he would acknowledge it as well. And at that point, his input is out of this game. So, oh well. Andy's at the pub already.
Yeah, that's Devil is a guy. We know him.
Yeah, he said you're the reason he's
He's
so.
allowed to joke.
You've got the
This
win
is kind
rate.
of the moment that we are cutting in. You already see me going towards my spot that I will be sitting for the next 9 minutes.
Yeah.
But you also will see that
Can you,
I'm
stop it?
very loved by all the torps.
Anders?
Yeah, you wanted to. You asked about me on the island on the one line with Venezia, right?
No,
Why
that
don't
was on the
you-
2 line on D2 when you
Yeah,
were
okay.
scraping it.
Scroll back then. See if I see if I did what you claimed me to do.
All right. So here's you making inky. You come off the island. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yep.
All right.
I guess.
Unfortunately with the render, it doesn't make micro movements easily. It basically says, "What, you want to go back? Here you go. Here's 45 seconds earlier." So
Sorry.
we're gonna. That's okay. That's okay. We're gonna watch you carefully now because you've called attention to yourself. So
Yeah.
you're,
I'm just too good. I used to be good.
you used to be good.
Yeah,
So
I used to
anyway,
be good.
all right, here you go. You first of all, very aggressive in that Venezia early on. Maybe that's because you used to be good. I don't know, but
I'm here to punish destroyers. All right.
okay. So you're thinking I will support my either YueYang, which both have radar, right? I will support that YueYang and blap whatever they radar.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And instead, neither YueYang captures anybody. The Ragnar of all things gets you spotted, I think. And
Yeah.
okay,
How many shoots me?
yeah.
Take a
But
look.
and now now you've got an island in front of you, and you're like, well, crap. So you turn hard left. Okay.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because
I'm
and
aware of
now
my circumstances.
now you're look at the Ohio. You're
Yeah, I'll agree to this. I didn't anticipate the Ohio shooting me.
but he didn't. He
But-
shot your Ohio
no.
instead.
No. Give it a second. Just wait the next salvo.
Okay, here's the part that I'm
Now,
really
I think he shoots me.
here's the part that I'm really confused at. You have the ability to go behind the island or go in front of the island. The
Yeah.
safe option is to go
Is behind.
behind the island. Most of the time, we tell people go behind islands, come back out, and around.
Yep.
You're not interested in that game. You're gonna go in
No.
front of the island.
Yeah. But I
Why?
still have a smoke available to me right now.
Okay. So you feel like you've got the
I-
get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
You're not detected, so you can
Yeah.
afford to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's play.
Let's play.
Oh, you're detected. So let me ask you a question, Joey. Thanks for the follow. Why, at this point, did you not immediately smoke?
Well, I know how to dodge. Let's call it that. Watch the next seconds.
Okay. I mean, you do get away with this, mind you. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I know.
I thought you would have smoked right here and just continued on straight forward. You know, get behind the island and un-F yourself. But okay, let's
Let's play. Let's play.
play. Here's the Ohio Salvo coming right to you, and you saw it.
At this point, I think I saw it. Yeah.
You saw it
Brown.
because
Brown
The eye-
trouser alert.
I'm sorry, what?
Brown trouser alert.
Ah, yes, of
I
course.
have a 20-second reload on my main gun, so I can afford to look around when I'm not shooting.
In competitive clan battles, COTS, whatever, when a battleship is detected, most likely it's because they shot. So I'm sure as soon as that Ohio was detected, you instinctively looked at the Ohio and said, what the heck? Or at the very least, somebody else in your team looked at it and said, oh crap, Venezia, you better start turning, right? Like,
No one gave me what's up.
nobody?
Nobody gave you that heads up on that one, no.
Time to find a new team.
I was about to tell my team why were no one telling me that the Ohio was shooting me at 24 kilometers away.
Plenty of time to
I
warn
mean-
you.
Yeah. The shells are too slow on the American as well, so
Well, hey, you're good enough to take your time and see it, and you
Well-
turned.
I used to be good. So
So you're detected. Now, here's the great part, right? Okay, you bounce pretty much every one of those shells, and then you're like, I guess now is a good time to use my smoke. Instead of like 10 seconds earlier when you were actually detected and could be shot at, you're like, I'll use it now, sure.
I mean, in one sense, the one thing that is fair to point out here is that the smoke allows him to potentially get into an A position completely scot-free.
Mm-hmm.
At least the way things were looking right now. We don't know where the Des Moines is yet. We don't know where the Salem is yet. Those are also ships that could punish Venezia if Venezia was broadside. And
And I
at this
really,
point, we wouldn't even know if they were sneaking it directly up the 4 line to sit on that island at B cap. Not that many teams do that way, but they could. So you want to get the Venezia a bit closer to the DDs, at least as close as you can safely.
Mhm.
This is not a bad way to do it.
Mhm.
But for sure, like this smoke turns out to have 0 value in that
You
sense.
think, sure.
What I'm thinking with when I'm smoking up, my detection is 9.9. Well, basically 10. Anyway, when I have 10 detection in my smoke, usually the YueYang is close enough to radar, whatever is spotting me.
Mm.
Usually.
Mhm.
And if it's not spotting me, then if it can't spot the ship that is spotting me, it's usually a radar or something else that if he can't spot, I can't shoot anyway. So
Mhm.
then I start shooting, and then I start making my turn.
Mhm.
So at this point, I was surprised there was a ship within my 10-kilometer detection range within smoke. So I started playing a little bit more careful, at least, so the Ohio don't shoot me. And I
Mhm.
believe it was the radar from Des Moines spotting me right now.
I think it's a
Uh,
Delny.
Or yeah, it's either the radar from the Des Moines or the Delny. If the Delny's within 10 kilometers of you, since you talked about your smoke fire
Is
penalty.
yeah.
I
So
think
I'm
But
holding
the
my shots
YY
for
should be
Delny.
radars as well, because we know that Des Moines was next to the Kremlin.
Hmm.
I believe we were very confident that the Des Moines was going to push inside A cap.
Sure, why wouldn't it?
Yeah, we looked at the previous game. What's the name again of the clan? DNA, A-N-D,
Andy.
A-N-D. Yeah, we looked on previous matches from A&D, and they frequently put a Des Moines inside A cap, so we were confident it would be him. I think it was him radaring me there.
It was.
So,
I've
and
seen footage.
and that's the value of especially us casting, right? You can go back to the previous weekends and see what they did. So
Yeah,
makes perfect sense. I agree, and I think that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that because that says, hey, this is what we think they'll do on Land of Fire. We want to prepare for that. So you prepared for it. And why are you still then diving A? If you know the Des Moines is going to be there with his radar, what's your thought process for this?
I believe I was trying to get close so I can get any good shots on Minotaur if he decides to show himself.
At B cap, south of B cap. Okay.
Yeah, and really nothing else can shoot me properly except the Ohio. And that
You
shells
already
have slow velocity, and it's kind of easy to dodge, I would say.
okay. That's fair. You already dodged the Ohio once.
Yeah,
The
twice.
Kremlin has the island between him and you, so it's really only the Ohio's next salvo. So he's basically just sitting there reloading, just swearing up a storm because he missed you the first time.
Yeah.
And okay, so why the smoke then? Was that just a knee jerk reaction, or well, you were dark at that point when you started.
I think I was detected slightly before I started smoking, so I wanted to know if there was something within my 10-kilometer range.
Okay, got it. And then of course you're either radar or Delny, which of the two?
Yeah. And I believe if you go it slightly further, I think the Delny, I'm not longer spotted, but the Delny is backing up so he can spot me whenever he believes I'm outside of smoke or something.
Well, you are so right now you are sideways to wherever the Delny's last known. I can't. I wish I could measure this because that would tell us exactly, definitively, is that the
It's about
Delny's
9 or
That
8
is
kilometers, I think.
inside of the smoke firing penalty for sure.
okay?
Yeah,
Square is
9 or 8.
4.2 meters or kilometers.
I believe he was at closest at around 8.2 or something.
Hmm.
I mean,
But here's the
I
thing,
made an
right? The use
entire
of Delny
turn
and
without being
Arachna.
shot.
That's true. But the use of Delny and Arachna, the only reason why I would see you using a Delny and a Ragnar, up until the point we figure out that the Ragnar is not near the A cap, is to have 2 DDs able to fire high velocity shells at a DD to quickly finish him off, even when he's running away at
Sure.
ranges where like YY gearing daring would struggle.
Yep. Yep. It's all about assassinating enemy destroyer. Right.
So I'm pretty sure that it's a good idea to play a little bit ballsy with Venezia, but we also at the same time, this strategy that we were using, it was based all around the Venezia and the YY always being half 1 foot in, 1 foot out, so that we wouldn't necessarily need to sacrifice them
Sure.
to gain the upper hand.
And I mean, you gotta weigh. We can't see your hit points in the Venezia, but you gotta weigh for the most part just fine. So
Yeah. So why not take the risk and maybe slap a destroyer?
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
disagree.
we have done that.
I believe in one of the next, if you find next replays we have, you kind of see the effect of actually being that aggressive.
Yeah, you hit him for
Okay.
like 70k
I was 15k on Oshima.
only.
Same map actually, but just the opposite around.
Yeah.
So IMAX is asking, are we doing more replays? I'd love to. I originally planned on stopping at 4, but hell, y'all are here hanging out. I don't have a problem with it. If that's the case, are we doing more of Munch's replays, or would you guys like to see a different clans and the Munch you guys hang out and comment? You guys tell me, chat, what you'd like to see.
I don't
Polo.
mind either way.
I'm
think
fine
we
for
have-
still blaming Andy for everything.
If you want to have a game blaming someone else, I think we can find someone.
Yeah, blame it on me. The least
Polo.
experienced guy.
I feel like this game, if I didn't do the big thing I did on A, we could have possibly won this. I feel like my contribution to the defeat is significant.
Wait a minute. If I didn't do the baiting at A, what are you talking about?
Little bit later in the game.
If you watch me, I'll go down and just screw up basically.
Is
Okay.
deletion.
Not necessary at all. I could just
So-
stay there.
You went behind the island. Okay, you smoked, got
Yeah.
out of trouble. Oh God, Stevie wants on my lap. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. So and now I can already kind of see it, right? You're like fixing to go back in.
Yeah, at this point, I'm seeing that the Kremlin doesn't want to play. The Des Moines is the only ship that kind of want to play in there, which gives me what I think at least is me and YueYang given like kind of a very good opportunity here.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so
real quick, it's important to notice that their Kremlin here was actually really smart, because you don't want to park a Kremlin on the flank where there's a Venezia and a YY just running away.
Mhm.
That's going to make him useless.
So Kremlin not wanting to play, you're basically saying he's running away. Like you said, very smart of him. So now the Des Moines, there's a Delny and a Des Moines. You don't know what else, but at the very least, those two that are still over at A, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Until the daring torpedoes, I think.
Aha. So
Just
you're
give us a
thinking,
second, I think.
I can take these guys. Meanwhile, Kahlo, we don't see it in the replay, but we definitely see it here on the render. You've got a lot of ships shooting at you.
Yeah, I was bow into the Mino
Mm.
and trying to like get him out of there, or like take him out.
Mhm.
But of course, Mino, being a British light cruiser, can single launch torps, and there's also a daring. So I was very a lot of anxiety of torpedoes, and well, like you can see right now, there are some coming my way. So
Right.
I cannot really stay in the spot that I really want to spot the Mino.
So that contributes to our discussion, God, 5-10 minutes ago, right? Of the nuclear option and choosing to push forward. You really don't feel comfortable doing that. They've kind of prevented you from feeling comfortable doing that, right?
Well, after around 40 torpedoes, I think everyone would be kind of worried.
Right. Like, okay.
Especially if you have to push in and your hydro is not ready yet.
Right. So the caller tells you to go, and you're like, well, that's fine, but understand I will die in 32 seconds. So, okay.
Well,
But
it was not really a caller giving the sign for like we need to do something. It was more like a general idea for like we have to make a play
Mm.
and I was in a position that when that call was made to start make a play, but that was
Mm-hmm.
already way too late, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I explained earlier, we don't operate by the idea that we have one person telling everyone absolutely what they must do, but we operate more on like everyone should have a decent idea what they're doing, and they probably have a better perspective to know what they can do
Sure.
from their own point of view. And therefore, we say we got to do something because sometimes people will then say, "Okay, I can do this."
Yeah, so like Stalingrad can call something out to coordinate something with the Daring and me, or the Des Moines can coordinate something with the St. Vincent and me, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like everyone can see an opportunity and can brainstorm about like what would be efficient, and then we can execute that instead of putting that pressure on one person that is also playing a ship.
Sure.
And he cannot have his mind on like the other side of the map, seeing and thinking for them as well. So you kind of need a little bit of independence.
So this is what we used to do in Kraken when we first started clan battles. That was kind of our hallmark, was we did like kind of, I guess you could say, community-based calling, where we all just kind of called out what we thought needed to happen, um, and we were all good enough to make it happen, right? And over time, things change because you start like seriously caring, and then when that happens, like you throw away a lot of that autonomy in order to uh, in favor of those like overall strategies, which can and cannot work properly.
Well, that's the beauty of COTS, isn't it? You don't
Mm-hmm.
throw 7 ships into potentially 10 different maps and you don't know which one you're going to end up on. You know what map it is. You
That's
You
even
right.
know
have an
what
idea of what your team is going to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
even before you start the game. You can prepare a lot. And if everyone knows overall what you have to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
you can operate very easily on like more community-based calling. Like everyone knows what the job is, what can we all contribute to that job, or informing each other, I cannot contribute to this job because there are 3 DDs in my face and I am a weak DD to these 3 DDs and I have to pull out.
Mm-hmm.
Which gives me another point I would like to point out here. If we had had the YY not pull away but work with the Daring as the Daring came in from the sea cap, we could have used that radar to keep this Minotaur spotted at this
Yeah,
point in the game.
The YY pull away from C.
The YY pulled away from B, the Daring came in from
Oh,
C.
it was on E4 ish.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about the one that's currently in Delta 3. I don't remember which one that is.
Yeah, that's me.
Because
That's me.
It's Tom's.
okay. Because both YYs are kind of out of position. If you would have had both of them 2 grid squares east of where they are, it could have been a different situation.
Indeed.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's continue to follow the Venezia's path of glory here.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. So here's the
think it's-
part where you're diving in. Are you thinking you can win a 1v1 against the Des Moines at this point?
No. I'm
Okay.
thinking I'm gonna lose it.
Okay. You
So
did?
I just wanna get out of his
You stopped it on the right time.
out of his firing angles, so I can focus more on the middle side.
Okay. Now, I pause it here. You've made smoke again.
Yep.
I can't tell if you're detected or not. The Des Moines might take a torpedo here.
I believe we already knew that Des Moines have already radared. I believe
Uh-huh.
that was communicated with Thomas in YueYang in Delta 4, 3 main. So we
Okay,
knew
so
he
you-
was he already used radar, so I can push in with my smoke very far without him even detecting me.
YueYang, that's the spot because the tracers are yellow, so it means HE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I believe I started my smoke somewhere close to my detection range,
Okay.
so I can get in undetected, start shooting, farming some damage, and then I want to go into the B cap kind of
Yeah.
to help out on the middle.
Got it. So you've already decided you've won over here.
I've decided that we can be aggressive here at least.
Okay. Let's take
Because
a
if
look.
I mean, in a 1v1 against close range with Des Moines against Venezia, the Venezia have very high chance of actually pulling it out. because the Moine can only shoot certain amount of shells in a minute, while the Moine can shoot 15 AP shells in his broadside if he wants to.
Okay,
No,
so you're
sorry,
thinking
20, 15, yeah, 15
Yeah,
shells.
it's 15 guns in Venezia. So if
Yeah,
you do a
yeah.
drive-by, you mean basically like you use
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
torps at an opportune moment between two reloads, preferably when he's sticking to HE at medium range, to
Yeah.
launch a volley of torps that keeps him having to go
On a
between the torps or
certain
eat one.
course, yeah. So he can't turn out if he wants to dodge the torps. He want to go straight forward, and then I can choose to shoot all my guns on his broadside.
okay.
Usually that ends in a kill, but I mean the best way
You
scenario
abort. You choose
in
to abort it
retrospect.
this time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look.
And now also you see on my position there, my hydro is down and the torps are going by me. And
It's in
more
the
torps.
Marseille.
Yeah.
Which discourages you from pulling forward and pushing.
Well, yeah, that are like a full
They're
daring
5,
and
6 ships there.
and both sides of the Minotaur of torps that
Mhm.
go by. So I know that I can be a little bit aggressive right now, but I have to be careful, right? Like in like 40 seconds after that, because there can be torps on the way again.
Got it.
But anyway, Venezia snakes his way down, I think. Aborts the push
And-
on Des Moines.
Here you are, bow in, Des Moines bow in. Your smoke is up.
Yeah.
It looks like you're detected. It's hard to see which ship that
Yeah,
dot is on.
Well,
I
he's
believe that's
shooting.
Des Moines. I'm too close to him when
Mhm.
and I yeah, I think I fired too early. He's the
Okay.
one spotting me.
So because you shot, you are
And-
now being detected.
Yeah, note that the Moine nor the Delny have been killed in B, which makes me knowing that it's only Des Moines there. There's nothing else. There's only Des Moines.
The Downey was killed at B at this point. Correct.
Yeah.
So that was your other threat on that side. So now you know it's the Des
Yeah.
Moines
So
by
there's
itself.
only Des Moines there
Okay.
at this point, at least.
So you're
But then
continuing.
if you continue, and then you will see the. Now I see the Ragnar spotted, or was spotted at least.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking if I can pull out and find the spotted Ragnar, I can absolutely destroy him.
Are you thinking that you can still win a 1v1 on this Des Moines here?
No.
Why not?
Well, first off, he got a better DPM than I do, and if I continue on his side, he might be able to kill me. Well, I maybe get maybe 3 torps on him.
Okay.
In best scenario, I think.
Maybe
I think
the would be,
I think it's a
efficient.
little bit difficult for Anders to voice what he means here, because like if you notice, Venezia is on, from Des Moines' perspective, Des Moines' right side. If Venezia wants to do a YOLO drive-by on Des Moines, he needs to cross in front of the Des Moines, out
Yeah.
on the Des Moines' left side, showing enough broadside, because there's not very much you have to give to a Des Moines for him to
Mhm.
citadel you.
Mm-hmm.
Cross in on his wrong side, you could say.
Mhm.
Maybe even have to still get the torps off so that Des Moines doesn't just reverse while having his rudder completely to the right, extending the amount of time he gets to fire at a broadside Venezia before he finally gets the angle he needs to punish him.
Mhm.
So I think he just chooses to do the safe thing here and ends up not doing it. But at this very moment, it really looks like we've won the game. I mean, like my Vincent is getting low, but we have them boxed in between like all of our ships that are still alive. They're in between all of these ships.
Yeah.
Their DDs are retreating. We know that the Minotaur has retreated.
Yeah.
The only ships that are left that are actually being aggressive is Des Moines, Kremlin, Moscow, and Ohio, and we are 9 players.
Yep.
So I think the overconfidence mixed with not wanting to make any mistakes led to a mistake here.
So in other words, you're saying we don't need you to risk your life trying to kill the Des Moines. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
and in
believe
the end,
that
it
was
costs his
no
life.
one said that, and it was not in my thoughts either.
Okay.
So did you think at all about the possibility of just ramming the Des Moines and killing him that way?
Not at that point. But in retrospect, that would have been the best thing I could do, I think, because that would give the A cap to the YueYang for free.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, at this point, you're winning. Why do I need to make it? Because a ram is a desperation play. Let's be real, right? Like that's like
Yeah.
we're probably gonna lose. We need to get maximum value out of what we have. Okay, let's just go ram a ship. And a cruiser trade at this point, it's not that necessary.
A ram is only benefit if you have the majority of the caps and you're still down on points where you actually need to get more time to get the cap points back.
Yeah, and
But we didn't.
if you're
That's the
able to
thing.
trade up as well, like right for a cruiser for a battleship, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only look at it as a ship versus ship. It doesn't really matter if it's a battleship or destroyer or cruiser.
It takes both teams down by 100 points, which if one team is on 999 and the other one is on 900,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like 950, you take both teams down by 100 points. The team that was lowest on points has 2 caps. The team with lowest points wins. I think that's what he's thinking.
Okay, interesting because there's a lot of chat right now in chatter in chat about, hey, if you are winning at that point, a ram is okay, but you're not winning technically, right? Points wise, you're losing at this point.
Yeah, but position we're winning. Very
Mhm.
good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, only there was some worrying prospect on the right side because of the Saint Vincent.
I was being heavily focused at that point.
Yeah.
I think you called out there that you knew that you were going down here actually, so we
Yeah,
will.
in that exact moment, I think I called that I'm just dead, 90%
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's continue on. And here's the part where you waved off of that Des Moines.
Here
And
comes
that
Kremlin.
I'm sorry, what?
Here comes Kremlin.
And here comes Kremlin, right? Hurricane moving forward.
And Des Moines.
Yeah. That shot on Kremlin, I think you lost most of your HP on that salvo from Kremlin. How much?
Okay. And there you go.
Yeah.
So of all things, the Minotaur, unfortunately.
You kind of see how I just threw away a ship.
Yeah. But that was
It was
Kremlin
not
salvo.
necessary at all. I'm
Mhm.
staying behind, taking my time.
This was the unlucky part that Ragnar did go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hardest part about COTS and anything competitive is you have the last known positions of ships, but you don't know if they've stayed there or moved someplace else.
Well, he was moving.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
and
at this point with his HP left, we knew he was going to J1.
the terrifying part. Now, Venezia, instead, if he had gone and crashed the island and popped the plane to spot the Des Moines, okay, yeah, I get that. Even then, at that point, the momentum has been lost.
yeah, there's now too much distance really to make a play from everyone that's on the east side around Seacap.
Right.
If you stop it right here as well, you notice that the 2 ships that went down, what were their positions?
Which 2 ships? You talking about your
The 2
team?
first. Yeah, so the Vincent, right, and the Venezia.
They are wing players.
They're the wing players.
Mm-hmm.
On how our formation around them, enclosing them was. So we lost the furthest ship on the 1 line, and we lost the furthest ship down on the J10 line to enclose the crossfire. And like the more of the flanks you eliminate, the less crossfire you have, and the more playability the map has for them to
Sure.
regain momentum.
Because basically, by removing the flank or the wing players, like you said, the enemy only has to focus on one direction.
Correct.
And then it just becomes kind of a battle of attrition. But by that point, the ships that could do the most attrition damage are gone, right? The Ohio's gone. So it's kind of stuck.
Yeah. You also lose the downside of the battleships, which is like there's a juicy target you have to kill on the right side, but then someone starts shooting from the left side, and then he has to turn his guns to the left side and constantly keep his guns at the ready, moving them about. When you've only got ships in generally one direction, you only have to wait a few seconds for the guns to be ready to fire a volley.
That's right.
You're going to play a little bit of battleship ping pong that way.
It's also easier to angle against that one direction. You're not worried about stuff coming from the side, so you don't have to focus on that at all. So a Moskva, for example, can just point his bow towards where the bulk of your forces are, and he doesn't care.
Yeah. Fortunately so.
Sometimes the losses are the better games to focus on because it just pulls a whole lot out of that. So thanks for sending this in and taking the time to talk through it. This was so many facets, so many things to look at. I love it.
Absolutely. It was very enjoyable as well for my own sake and I guess from the other lads.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Also fun to talk about it, that people that are not competing have a general idea of how it goes. This was also my first time, so it was also quite some new things for me to that were happening. So I'm quite find quite funny that people can also enjoy that then.
Mr. 3.5 thousand battles is flexing over everyone here.
Why so?
I'm just messing with you, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like you're learning new stuff, but you're also trying things, and it got you this far, which is great, right?
Yes.
I think
It's,
we're quite happy.
The guys are also
ahead,
quite
Paul.
nice on explaining things that are sometimes a little bit alien for me yet.
Sure. I mean, I would hope that at 3,500 battles, you haven't learned everything about this game yet. So, yeah, there's definitely some nuances, things to be considerate of. Absolutely. And I mean, a big part of King of the Sea or any competitive is just finding a group of people that you enjoy hanging out with, legitimately want to hang out with. Otherwise, it's a chore.
Yeah, for sure. And we do have a friendly bunch of people that get along very well for the most part. I mean, everyone has their ups and downs as it is. But it needs to be enjoyable, and the community needs to be there. Like we have more people than we could fill our COTS team with that we fill divisions with on a regular basis, play clan battles with, and switch in and out more freely than we can in COTS. That's really what makes it fun. Like I believe that we have all come to the conclusion that we would have been long gone from this game already, as many people do. Like you play one game, you complete the single player mission, you move on to the next game. That's the classical gamer. But like a game like World of Warships, you stick around for the community and the fun you have together.
100%. And I think that's what makes this game so different than a lot of other ones. Is you maybe get attracted to things like what you were talking about, but then what ultimately keeps you in place is the people around it, the community, the camaraderie that you have with people. I think really truly makes it a special thing.
Yeah, and also getting the best out of everyone.
See, you're all wrong. The thing that keeps everybody around is carriers and submarines.
In that order?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Wargaming already knows, because otherwise you don't pre-ban certain ships and ship types for an event.
I like how
this.
Joey says, so what you're saying is randoms with no divisions is painful.
It is on 1 versus 23, right?
1 verse 23. Puddin mentioned that yesterday. I mean,
11 idiots, I can't shoot.
You used to be able to, just like animals used to be good.
Yeah, stop
good old
bullying,
days.
man.
Like, is that a broadside
I hate you, Raleigh.
battleship? I'm in my light cruiser. Let's sail broadside.
I'm so glad to hear that happens.
Torps.
I love to hear that happens for you guys on EU as much as it happens for us on NA. That's good to hear, and sad, but good. at the same time.
We share the pain.
Right, we all share the pain.
Yeah,
All
at
right,
least
well-
we are not selfish.
I really
There
do
you
miss
go.
the days of watching my Shimakaze slowly lose health because I refused to hit the R button.
Okay then.